G'day guys, welcome back to another video on the channel, and today I'll be predicting the All-Australian team for the AFL 2024. So yeah, let's jump straight into it. I've tried to throw in a few unlikely and smoky options into this All-Australian mix. And yeah, I've tried to make it as unbiased as possible as well. But a bit of a disclaimer before I start, there are quite a number of Collingwood players in this list. But yeah, let's jump straight into it. So yeah, fullbacks, I feel like it's pretty easy for me. Isaac Quaynor is one, Sam Taylor and James Sicily, and I've got Sicily as my vice captain there in the pocket. I feel like those three are all going to have really, really good seasons. Sam Taylor, in particular from GWS, you know, he was All-Australian in 2022 and was on bound to be All-Australian last year, but unfortunately didn't play enough games because of the hamstring injury, and he didn't meet enough games required to be in the All-Australian team. But yeah, he should. If he plays every game this year, he should definitely be in the All-Australian. Now on the halfback, now I've got a few smokies here. Mainly players that I think will be playing midfield. But I've chucked on the halfback as, you know, they'll get go down there for kickouts and you know, be useful like interceptors at times. I've got Hayden Young from Fremantle, Darcy Moore, and as my captain for this All-Australian team from the Pies, and also Nick Dacos on the half-back flank for the Pies as well. Yeah, those three should all have fantastic seasons. Hayden Young would be a first-time All-Australian. And for me, you know, if you had to say an All-Australian smoky or something like that that's most likely to happen, it's probably going to be either him or a couple of others that I'll mention a little bit later on. Moving on to my midfield, or the wings, I should say, I've got Errol Goulden on one wing. In my opinion, he is by far probably the best winger in the comp. And on the other wing, I've got Josh Dacos. He was All-Australian on the wing last year, and I think he'll back it up again with another strong season. And I've got Jai Newcombe as my on-ball midfielder there as well. Newcombe is going to have a fantastic year. I rate him very, very, very highly. And yeah, definitely a chance to win a Brownlow in the coming years. And yeah, a bit of a smoky to win the Brownlow this year as well. Moving on to the forward line, or the half-forward line. Sorry, I've got Connor Rozee. I believe he was in this position last year. I might be wrong though. I've also got a first timer in there, Darcy Fogarty from Adelaide, or Fogarty, however you want to say it, and Sam Flanders from the Gold Coast Suns. I think if Gold Coast win enough games, you know, Flanders, he's going to get 30 disposals a game in the midfield. He's going to have an elite year, and I think those three all can get All-Australian. Fogarty or Fogarty, however you want to say it, from Adelaide, is a player that I've rated for quite some time now. He's quite an accurate drop punter, and you know, can sometimes be overshadowed by Tex Walker, and you know, they go to Tex Walker a lot more than him. But I personally think he can have a superb season for the Crows this year, and maybe target him a little bit more over Tex this year as well. Moving on to my full forward line, I've got Bobby Hill in one pocket. Now, this might be a little bit biased, but I personally think he's one of the best, or the best small forward in the comp. I really, really love watching him play. He's got so much talent, and he's a pretty clutch player as well, and I think he will be this year, and that's why I've included him. He should probably have a 50-plus goal season, I reckon, and back up his really good, solid start to Collingwood as he did last year. And I've also got Charlie Cameron in my other pocket in the forward line. He's going to have another great year, another All-Australian year. I think he's pretty much a lock for the All-Australian position in one of the pockets. And as another pretty bold call, I've tried to make it a bit different and very, very unique compared to other people's. I've got Mitch Lewis as my full forward. I didn't want to go boring with Curnow because, you know, let's be real, if Curnow plays every single game, he'll be the best full forward this year. Nick Larkey as well was another one I was contemplating as well, with Oscar Allen, Ben King. But I've gone with Mitch Lewis, and I personally think he'll win the Coleman this year. He's going to have a superb season for the Hawks and kick many, many goals in a team that I think can push for the finals and maybe even make the finals. Now, moving on to my rucks, I've got Tim English as my ruck. I still think he's probably the best ruckman, probably slightly better than Grundy, Gawn, and Briggs. My two mids, I've got Rovers and Ruck Rovers. I've got Sam Walsh as my rover and Tom Green from the Giants as my ruck rover. Those two are going to be probably the best midfielders in the comp this year, up there with Newcombe, Butters. They're all going to be ridiculously good. And if they play every single game, which wasn't the case last year, we should expect some big things. And they've got huge futures at their respective clubs as well. And on the interchange, I want to say most of these are probably bold calls. I mean, I've got Zach Butters on the bench there as well. He's going to have a fantastic year in the midfield. I couldn't fit him onto the actual ground, so I put him on the interchange because I didn't want to put him in a wing position when, Josh Dacos and Errol Goulden are actually proper wingers. I've also got Kieran Briggs as another. I've got two rucks in this team. It's a bit of a bold call, I know. I'm picking him over another key forward as well. But I personally think he's going to have a superb season for the Giants. He's one of my favourite players. A very, very, very underrated one as well. And yeah, he's back after the season last year, when he was in the team. He was probably maybe the best ruck in the comp. I've also got Harry Sheasel there. He's going to be playing mostly defence, maybe a bit of midfield this year for North Melbourne. I reckon he's going to have an even better year this year than what he did in his first season last season. He's going to be ridiculously good to watch in future years as well, Sheasel, and that's why I've got him on my bench. And my other one, he was I believe the captain of the All-Australian team last year. I've had to throw him in because, GWS, if they're going to make the top four, this man has to be included in the All-Australian, doesn't he? And that's Toby Green. He's such a clutch player. When the Giants are winning, he's absolutely, demolished the opponent. Or, if the Giants are playing well, he's obviously like the one creating all those chances and getting on the end of those chances. And we saw that last year in a game against the Western Bulldogs down in Ballarat, where they came back. It was a huge comeback, and it was led by Toby Green. He kicked 4 goals in the second half. And, I reckon he'll do a lot of that again this year for the Giants. And if they're playing good footy, he'll certainly be playing good footy. And I've put him on my bench for this All-Australian team. I did maybe want to throw in maybe a few honourable mentions. Curnow, if he plays every single game, he'll probably be in the team. But because I wanted to, change it up, make it a little bit more interesting, I've still mentioned him though in this video, and I personally think he will be All-Australian if he plays every single game. There's a few others that could make it. Nick Martin from Essendon is definitely one that could get in on the wing or off half back. He's going to have a pretty good year as well, you would think, for Essendon. A couple more. Sam Powell-Pepper is one that I've contemplated to be in my forward line. I personally think he's going to have a fantastic year. He's currently been suspended, though, in one of the preseason games, so that's a bit unfortunate, but he still is definitely a chance to get in there. Connor Iden as well is another one in that defence. He's such an underrated defender. Love what he does, and he'll be right up there as well, competing for a spot. Tom Stewart as well. I reckon he's going to back it up, have another really, really good year for Geelong, probably be their best player, as he has done throughout this decade. Max Gawn is another one that I've contemplated going into that backup ruck position, where I've got Briggs, but I've gone with Briggs over Gawn, just to change things up as well. I think there's a few other players that could certainly make All-Australian. Kadeen Coleman is another bold one that I want to say could make All-Australian this season. If not in future seasons, he's definitely going to make, you would think, an All-Australian in his career. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you guys very, very soon in my next one.